Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k Necrons. So in today's video we're going to ask the question, what's the better weapon for the Necron Immortals? Is it the Gauss Blasters or the Tesla Carbines? So we're going to get into that today. We're going to do a bit of a maths video, Mathammer, and we're going to kind of work out what's the better option. So let's get into the video. So Necron Immortals are what we're talking about. The Gauss Blasters are the ones with the lethal hits. In fact, we'll go through the stats, we may as well as we're here. Gauss Blasters, lethal hits, 24-inch range, 2 attacks, 3 plus ballistic skill, strength 5, minus 1 AP, 1 damage. Tesla Carbines, on the other hand, they have the assault keyword, sustain hits 2, so that's it, to replace lethal hits. That's the main comparison there. Only 18-inch range, but bear in mind it has assault. 2 attacks, ballistic skill 3 plus, strength 5, no AP, 1 damage. So really, apart from the lethal hits versus sustain hits, the range is slightly different and the AP is slightly different, but there is a big question, what's the better weapon? Now, Immortals naturally reroll wound rolls of a 1, and they can actually reroll all wound rolls if your opponent is on an objective. Now, for this video, we're not going to talk about opponents being on objectives, because that part is a situational thing that we can't always count on. So we definitely always get the reroll wound rolls of a 1, so we can count on that. So what we're going to do first of all, we're going to do a bit of maths. And I'm going to use Necrons as our enemy units because we know Necron units. We know the toughnesses, we know the saves. So I thought it would be easier to start this off nice and gentle with using our own units as the enemy unit. So on the left side of this little chart here, we've got Scarabs, Warriors, Immortals, Wraiths and Monoliths. We're going to use these 5 units as our enemy unit for the 2 types of weaponry. Gauss is the middle column and Tesla is on the right. Let's get into it. So the Scarabs, if we were firing a 10-man, this is a 10-man, I need to be very clear, a 10-man Immortal unit against a unit of Scarabs with the Gauss Blasters, we would expect on average 13.6 damage. Of course, there were only 1 damage weapon, so it's not going to affect too much in terms of, you know, model, how much damage a model takes and all that stuff. It's only 1 damage each, so it kind of works out nicely. So 13.6 damage from a 10-man Immortal unit using Gauss Blasters against Canoptic Scarabs. Whereas if you were using the Tesla Carbines, you would expect more, on average 16.2. Now that's partly due to the fact that you're getting more attacks, well, more hits essentially with the Tesla, because every roll of a 6 plus gives you 3 hits rather than 1. Whereas with the Gauss Blasters with the lethal hits, you're already wounding on 2s and you're already re-rolling 1s, so the combination doesn't have that much of an effect against a toughness 2 unit. So that's why the Tesla wins against toughness 2 Canoptic Scarabs. If we bring it down to the Necron Warriors, which are toughness 4 with a 4 plus armor save, this is what we can expect. So the Gauss 7.4 on average, the Tesla 7.8 on average. So the Tesla is still slightly ahead because they're wounded on 3s. I mean, they're both wounded on 3s, but the AP does come into effect here. This is why the Gauss has caught up slightly. But when you've got a sheer amount of shots with the Tesla, I think it's doing enough. And that's why it's 7.8 rather than 7.4. Now let's bring the toughness up slightly. This is now Necron Immortals going up against Necron Immortals. The Gauss is getting 4.6 versus the Tesla's 3.9. So the Gauss is actually taking the lead now against a toughness 5 unit. And there's a reason for it. First of all, lethal hits now comes into play. Now you're skipping that wound roll. Yes, it does skip their ability, the reroll wound rolls of a 1. But by bypassing the wound roll, because you need force to wound, don't forget. Against strength 5, toughness 5, you need force to wound. So half of the dice are literally on average going to disappear when you roll to wound. So when you are completely skipping that wound roll with 6s, that's going to give you more wounds to play with in terms of more damage and stuff. Whereas the Tesla, they aren't skipping that wound roll. Yes, they're re-rolling 1s just like the Gauss is. Yes, you've got more shots, but there's also no AP now. Now we've got the 0 AP, so the Immortals are going to get the 3 plus armor save, whereas with the Gauss or Gauss, I keep getting them mixed up, whatever, they're getting the minus 1 AP off, so therefore the Immortals are actually on a 4 plus armor. So this is where, at this point now, that the Gauss actually starts to take the lead against these particular units. Going down the list, we've got the Canoptic Wraiths, which are toughness 6 with a 3 plus armor and a 4 plus invuln. The invuln isn't really going to have an effect here because the -1 AP for the Gauss takes it to a 4+ armor anyway. But they are toughness 6, so therefore you now need 5s to wound with both of these weapons. So that's why both of the averages have gone down. The Gauss is still in front, 3.6 against the Tesla's 2.6, and again it's because of lethal hits. Lethal hits now mathematically is better on average against the Tesla getting the extra shots, because those extra shots, you still require a 5 to wound with those extra shots, whereas the lethal hits just completely bypass that roll. So that's why we've got 3.6 versus 2.6. And the last one is the Monolith, which is toughness 14. It's a 2+ armor save. I mean, neither of these units should be firing at a Necron Monolith anyway, but just for the actual mathematics here, 1.8 with the Gauss, 0.7 damage with the Tesla. Lethal hits is the only real part that works here, because you're going to need a 3 to hit. This is natural, by the way, this isn't with leaders and stuff. We'll do that later on. You're going to need a 3 to hit, then you're going to need a 6 to wound, re-rolling 1s. But if it's lethal, which is where this 1.8 kind of comes from, you're skipping that wound roll. Whereas with the Tesla, yeah, we get more shots, but now you're needing 6s to wound. And then, of course, there's a 2+ armor save on top of all this. Whereas with the Gauss, at least it goes to a 3+, because it's -1 AP. I hope you're following at home. Right. Now, there are some parts to this that we've not included and we've not thought about with these statistics. First of all, let's go back to the actual weaponry, the actual data card. We've got to consider the range. Now, the Tesla Carbine has less range. It's only 18-inch range, although it does have the assault keyword. So we can't obviously put the maths, we can't create maths from range, because we're just presuming that everything is in range when we're doing our maths. But we're going to be shooting a lot less. Well, not a lot less. We're going to be shooting less with the Tesla because we need to get into range in order to do so. Now, of course, the assault keyword means that we could advance D6, but you might roll a 1, so therefore you've only gained an inch there. You might roll a 6, and that gets you to the 24-inch range if you like. So it is kind of swings and roundabouts with that, but there is something to consider with these maths. Another thing to consider is something that we mentioned in the intro, the ability to reroll all wound rolls if your opponent's unit is on an objective. We've not put that into play at all. That could massively change how these maths come out. I mean, if you're re-rolling all the wound rolls for the loads of shots from the Tesla, that will probably benefit the Tesla more. Whereas with the Gauss, it doesn't so. It doesn't as much, because the lethal hits actually skips the wound roll, so therefore it's not going to be as big of a deal to them. We've also not considered any characters yet. I mean, there's a whole host of characters, and we can in fact put a couple of characters within this kind of unit, because it's a battle line unit. I mean, we've got the Illuminazares. You can give a bit of extra AP. Doesn't even need to be within the unit, but it can't be. He's a lone operative, but if he's within close proximity, he gives a -1 AP to the weaponry, so that will take the Gauss to -2 AP. It's a big deal. -1 for the Tesla. You've got Amrakir the Traveller, which will give you a +1 to the wound roll. That's a big deal. Plasmancer with 5+ are critical hits to hit. So that means your Tesla's going to explode on a 5+, or your lethal hits will go off on a 5+ to hit. That's a big deal. The Silent King also gives you rerolls of hit rolls of a 1. Now the wound rolls of a 1, they already get it naturally, so they don't need it. But rerolling hit rolls of a 1 could be a big deal. So there's lots of different things that are going to change the maths. Now we obviously can't cover everything on this. We can't just keep changing it. We'll be here all day, right? We can't do that. But I'm trying to give you a bit of a feel of what you could do. We will go on to some maths with a few of these combinations. We've also got to think about another option here, which is the Protocol of Sunstorm. This gives you the assault keyword. So this will apply to the Gauss weapons in particular. Not so much for the maths, but it's more to do with they can get closer. So they can be within range so that they're actually shooting, maybe turn 1 when you're not in range. So you're getting an entire round of shots off, whereas with the Tesla you might not be getting them off. So that's another factor to all this. And the final factor I wanted to point out is invulnerable saves. Now there are some units that have the same invuln save as their armor save, such as our Nightbringer. Our Nightbringer is a 4+ armor and a 4+ invulnerable save. Same with the Horrors from the Demon's Codex, or Gene Stealers from the Tyrannus Codex. They've got a matching invulnerable save to their armor save, so therefore that AP from the Gauss has no effect. It has 0 effect whatsoever. So those factors can change and skew the results. Now we're going to do a little bit of an example loadout here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add Anrakir the Traveller, as well as a Plasmancer to a 10-man Immortal unit. Now, I'm going to keep, for this example, but we will change up the enemy units in a moment, but we're going to keep the same examples that we did earlier, the Scarabs, the Warriors, the Immortals, Wraiths and Monolith, and we're going to kind of compare the stats without these extra bonuses, like the Command Protocols, Anrakir and the Plasmancer, and we're going to compare it to having them and see what the effect is. So if you had in fact, we should probably go through what they actually do. The Command Protocols gives you a +1 to your hit roll. That's if you've got any character within the unit. So now you're hitting on 2s, not 3s. So you're going to get more hits. Cool. Anrakir the Traveller is a +1 to the wound roll. So if you are Strength 5 going up against Toughness 5 Immortals, you're wounded on 3s, not 4s. So it makes a difference. A Plasmancer, we kind of mentioned already, 5s are critical hits. So any 5 will score a lethal hit if you've got the Gauss, and if you've got the Tesla, any 5s to hit will be 3 hits. And that's any 5s or 6s, so there's going to be a lot of hits there. So let's see how this interacts with these units. So with the Gauss to begin, the Gauss against the Scarabs previously did 13.6, I'm going to double check the maths, yep, it was 13.6 damage. If you're pimping out this Immortal unit with the said buffs that we've just mentioned, they're on the screen now, that's going to up to 16.4. So that's what you can expect per shooting phase, if you like, as an increase going up against Toughness 2 Scarabs. Warriors goes from 7.4 to 10.9. Immortals, 4.6 goes right up to 7.2 because you're wounding them on 3s, as we mentioned. So hitting on 2s and wounding on 3s, that's nice. Canoptic Wraiths goes from 3.6 to 6.3, so you're swapping the numbers out right there. That's because you're now wounding them on 4s, not 5s. That's a big deal. And the Monolith goes from 1.8 to 3.5, mainly because the critical hits. Mainly because the critical hits are going to be a 5+ rather than a 6+. So that's what it does with the Gauss. What about the Tesla? How does this example loadout affect our Tesla weapons? So with the Scarab, 16.2 becomes 24.3 damage. So if you've got a 6 Scarab unit, if you like, that will literally wipe out the unit. 24 damage is enough to wipe out the unit. Good. Well, unless you're the opponent's Necron player, then not good. Warriors, 7.8 goes to 14.6, so some big increases here because a 5+ explosion with Tesla is very good. It slows down slightly here with the Immortals, 3.9 becomes 7.8, the Wraiths 2.6 becomes 5.9, and 0.7 on the Monolith becomes 1.9. Not as great there, the lethal hits aren't there because we've got Tesla, we just got sheer amount of shots. So I'm going to put both on the screen for you now, just to show you the comparison, if you like, and which one kind of wins. Right up to Toughness 5, the Tesla is superior. Although at Toughness 5 Immortals, it is superior, but only just. 7.2 versus 7.8 isn't a massive difference. It's when it gets to Toughness 6 and beyond is where the Gauss does come into its own, because lethal hits literally bypass the wound roll. Although you're then taking away the whole Anrakir the Traveller +1 to wound, you're then taking away the ability of a re-rolling 1s to wound as well. I mean, maybe that example loadout wouldn't have been the best for the Gauss weapons. Maybe, maybe not. But I mean, even if you're taking an Overlord, you're not really gaining a buff. So I just picked Anrakir the Traveller as an option here. So yeah, Toughness 2 to Toughness 5, the Tesla wins, but it is only slight. It is only slight. So for me, it kind of depends on who you're going up against, which is why we're going to now change the enemy units. We're going to do something that's a little bit more common. We're going to talk about some Marine units and talk about some Tyranid units. Marines are always the in thing, and Tyranids have just had their codex, so it makes sense to talk about them. We're going to use the same example loadouts, so we're going to jump into the pimped out versions of the weapons, and these are the statistics. So the Termagants are their armor save of a 5+ with toughness 3. Gauss Plus, I've called it Gauss Plus, 13.7 damage against the Tesla 19.4. You're wounded on 3s. No, you're wounded on 2s because of Anrakir the Traveller. You're wounded on 2s, you're re-rolling the wound roll, exploding 6s. You're going to do a lot of damage, and 19 Termagants are going down with the Tesla. 13, maybe 14 going down with the Gauss. Pretty decent amount of damage both ways, but the Tesla obviously wins that one. Intercessors are Space Marines with toughness 4. They've got 2 wounds each with a 3+ armor save. This is quite a close one because Gauss is 8.2, Tesla's 9.7. The AP will come into effect here because it puts them on a 4+ armor save. The sheer amount of shots is obviously winning this, and that's why the Tesla has only just won that there. Terminators, this one's a funny one because the Gauss wins. Terminators have got a 2+ armor with a 4+ invulnerable save, I want to say. And they've got 3 or 4 wounds depending on the storm shields. But we're not really talking about how many wounds the model's got here, we're purely talking about damage. 4.9 from the Gauss, 3.9 from the Tesla. There's only 1 damage in it, but they are 3 to 4 wound models. So you're probably going to get rid of a model, maybe with the Tesla because of the storm shield having an impact, maybe. But mainly it's that 2+ armor save that really saves the Space Marine player from a lot of damage. Tyrant Guard, these guys are toughness 8, I want to say, toughness 8 with a 3+ armor save. They normally go with the Hive Tyrant or Swarmlord or the Neuro Tyrant. 6.3 with the Gauss Plus. With the Tesla Plus we've got 5.6. Not much in there, to be honest, not much in there, especially going up against toughness 8. That one's pretty even-ish. And the Exocrine I think is toughness 11. I'm trying to remember my tyrants now. Toughness 2/6. Toughness 11 or toughness 12, I'm going to put my bets on. I'm going to guess toughness 11 I'm going to go for. It's just a case of finding them. Toughness 10, I got it wrong both ways. No good. Toughness 10 with a 3+ armor save. I mean the +1 to the wound roll makes them wound on 5 still. But at least it's not 6s because we're now... It would be 6s but it's 5s because of Amricate the Traveller. And we're re-rolling 1s. But 5.3 with the Gauss, 3.9 with the Tesla. That's not bad, I mean, that's 1 single unit, but really that's not the main target. We should be targeting infantry, probably Terminators below, I mean, although they do really good against Tyrant Guard, to be fair. But yeah, that's the combinations. The Tesla, bottom line, the Tesla is pretty much the option against infantry, light infantry, medium infantry, you know, intercessors I'm classing now as medium. When you go for elite infantry and beyond, into monsters, into vehicles, you want the Gauss, although the Gauss just isn't really enough for the big stuff. You may as well save that for your Locust Heavy Destroyers, your Doomsday Arcs, your Doom Scythe, your Silent King. Those kind of units should be targeting the big stuff. So really, is there a place for the Gauss? Is kind of where this is going. Is there a place for it? Because the way I'm looking at this, I would rather pick the Tesla. I mean, in 9th edition, I preferred Tesla. 10th edition, I think I'm still with the Tesla because they're mainly shooting against infantry, aren't they? You're mainly shooting against the screens, and if it's the bigger stuff, it's going to be like light skimmers at best. I mean, you're not going for anything beyond that, and the Tesla can still do it, especially if you kit them out with the Plasmancer and the Amricate the Traveller. So, with the Gauss, yes, it's doing a bit of work, but I just think you've got less optional targets than the Tesla. The Tesla kind of can do everything. The sheer amount of shots that it has, even against a higher toughness category, it's still doing work because you're forcing your opponent to make saves. Whereas lethal hits kind of goes against their own natural ability of re-rolling 1s to wound, or re-rolling all the wounds in fact, if your opponent is on an objective. It kind of clashes, and that's why if it was up to me, well it is up to me if I'm playing my own game, but if it's up to me, overall, I would choose the Tesla most times. So yeah, that's where I'm going to go with this video. I would pick Tesla, but what about you? What would you pick, and explain why down in the comments. Guys, thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.